Are we facing a national crisis when it comes to the mental health of our country's youth? Well, according to a new report from Statistics Canada, it certainly appears that way. The report that reveals that roughly 1 in 5 youth who felt good about their mental health 4 years ago say that's no longer the case. To talk more about this report is Sara Austin, the CEO of the child advocacy organization Children First Canada. Sara, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
I know that the mental health of children, of youth, is at the top of mind for many parents, families, as well as educators, as students especially head back to school. For you, what are a couple of stats from this report that concern you the most?
What really concerns me as a parent, let alone as an advocate for all 8 million of our children, is that we are continuing to see a steady decline in their mental and their physical health. This new survey was done as a follow-up to a survey right before the pandemic. So back in 2019, Statistics Canada surveyed kids from coast to coast to coast, looking at their mental and physical health, and then repeated the survey in 2023. And so we've seen over the past 4 years a significant decline, that children who previously said their mental health was good or very good are now saying it's poor or fair. That's 1 in 5 children, or over 1 million kids in our country, who have seen a very significant decline. It's very alarming because we know that even before the pandemic began, that the mental health of kids in Canada wasn't good. So we've just gone from bad to worse. And you speak with any young person today, they'll tell you that they're facing significant stressors in their homes, in their schools, in their community, from a whole host of different factors. And this is playing out in a variety of different ways. There's having more headaches, more stomach aches, more backaches, let alone the struggles they're facing in going to school and feeling less optimistic about their future. So all in all, this report paints a concerning picture about the state of our nation's children, and is a warning sign that we need to step up and take action.
You referenced the pandemic there a couple of times. How much do you think that COVID really played a role in the decline here?
Well, as I said, we had a mental health crisis for children even before the pandemic began, but we've seen a worsening of the situation for many kids, and it's affected by many different factors. Of course, we know that kids were affected by the closures of schools and sports facilities and many other things, but we've had all of these things reopened for quite some period of time, and what we're seeing is the kids are not bouncing back. And it's affected by a whole host of factors. We've seen a steep rise in child poverty rates, food insecurity in particular, more kids going to school hungry without a breakfast or a lunch. That, of course, is going to affect their mental health. We've seen a decline in physical health and physical activity in particular, less children getting enough daily activity, which is going to impact their physical well-being, but as well as their mental well-being. And then wider systemic factors, issues like racism, climate change, and violence in the community that impact children's overall sense of well-being, their sense of safety, security, and their ability to look forward to their future.
Sara, according to the data, girls seem to be struggling more than boys. The report says that back in 2019, 16% of girls aged 12 to 17 rated their mental health as fair or poor. That's jumped to 33% in 2023. What do you think are some of the contributing factors here?
Yeah, I think one would be physical activity. Girls were more likely to drop sports during the pandemic and have been less likely to return to sports. So that's playing a significant role in this. We know that online activity, the kids, children, youth, particularly girls, are spending more time online and are more likely to be impacted by issues like the exposure to harmful images on social media, let alone cyber exploitation and cyber harms that they're exposed to. And so those are just two of many factors. And so again, for parents who are watching this, who are hearing this data, it is alarming. It's concerning for kids themselves. We're hearing kids talking about these issues amongst their peers and with us as researchers and as advocates. The kids know that they're struggling, and they're wanting their parents and policymakers to step up and take action.
I want to just go back to the pandemic there, because a lot of times we hear, COVID happened and we need to recover. But that's often said with things like the economy, for instance. We need to recover there. Do you think that the issue of youth's mental health should be also discussed similarly? The recovery there, the investment in resources to address issues that have popped up or been exacerbated by the pandemic?
100%. You know, kids are at the heart of our economy. We cannot prosper as a country if our kids are languishing. And so when our kids are struggling with their mental and physical health, they're less likely to do well in school. They're less likely to go on to have jobs, well-paying jobs, and to be contributing members of society. And so there clearly is a business case for investing in children, giving them a safe and healthy childhood, helping them to achieve their full potential. There's big investments that have been promised in Budget 2024, things like a national school food program and a new youth mental health fund. These are big, bold investments that have been made into Canada's kids, but we need tangible action. We need the federal and provincial governments working as partners to deliver those funds and to make those investments into our economy and into the heart of our nation, the well-being of our kids. They are our greatest natural resource, and they deserve to be cherished and supported.
These are critical conversations. Lots of folks want to talk more about this. Sara Austin with Children First Canada, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.